Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Tiling Connect is brought to you by Lux's Grates, the leaders in aluminium drainage, which are UV stable, rust proof and customisable on site. Available at your local tile or plumbing shop. Hey everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while since we posted a new episode, and we're very fortunate to have a heavyweight from one of the big companies here in Australia, Beaumont Tiles. We connected in with their marketing team a little while ago, and they were connecting us up with some people within the team. And I'm fortunate enough to have Ryan Roberts, who is the National Strategic Designer for Beaumont Tiles in Adelaide, with us today. So, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mark, and hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Awesome, mate. No, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I know we've got a little bit of a time difference between Queensland and South Australia, but we'll certainly make it all work. Mate, we're becoming a little bit experienced at doing podcasting now. One of the things that I try not to do is waffle on too much and tell too much about anything. I'd like to give our guests as much of the airtime as we can. Mate, let's start off. Can you tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what you're doing today for Beaumont Tiles?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I guess my career started after I studied my 3 years of interior design. I went into residential design for a while, had an opportunity to move into commercial design, which I did, and really focused on office design, which was something that I was quite passionate about. I enjoyed the type of work and dealing with larger companies, and every company is different and trying to solve all their problems. In between that all, I took a break where I did my 4th year to get my Bachelor of Technology in interior design.
Awesome.
Some of the highlights, I've worked at a few different companies. For example, I have worked at a company that designed office furniture. So that was great just from a practical point of view, because I got to work with the guys on the floor, and it gives you that level of practicality where you can't just design something that looks pretty. You've got to make it work. And then my family and I decided about 6 years ago to move across to Australia from South Africa.
Oh, nice.
I felt like doing something slightly different, and this role at Beaumont Tiles popped up. And yeah, I've been here ever since I arrived in Australia and really enjoying the role.
Wow, that's awesome. And when you moved from South Africa, was it straight from there into Adelaide, yeah?
Yes, yeah. Straight from Durban on the East Coast. So that's a nice sunny place, similar to Brisbane, like where you're from, Mark. And
yeah, nice.
To Adelaide, a little bit colder, but makes up for it with the red Shiraz.
Yeah, well, I have friends in Adelaide, and her and her family used to own some vineyards down there, and I sort of visit her frequently. It's usually annually, and she's an excellent tour guide, and we get a chance to go every time we go down. We're always at a vineyard because obviously some of the best reds are manufactured in Adelaide, as we know. But no, that's awesome, mate. Well, welcome to the show, and you're obviously with Beaumont Tiles and in a pretty prominent position. What was that the first your first job that you held with when you came to Australia? Was that where it all started, or was it something that you developed prior to coming over?
So once I got my visa, I started looking around at different types of roles. As I mentioned before, I was looking for something slightly different. I'd done a 3-year project on a 5-story office block just before I left, and I kind of felt like a change and doing something a bit different to what I had been doing. While I was in South Africa, this role popped up. And went through some of the application, got the job actually while I was still in South Africa, and moved across straight into this role. I think I arrived on a Thursday afternoon and started work on a Monday.
Oh, wow. That's pretty hectic, right? But what better place to land than one of the, the largest tile importers in Australia. So that's awesome. Fantastic. Well, mate, I've got a whole bunch of questions here today that I want to ask and get to know you a little bit better, and probably more so about the industry and what your expertise brings to the tiling space in particular. And I know that, tiling contractors and retailers and anybody else in our community will be very keen to hear how interior design and, tile selection from, a number of global players impacts what things look like today and in the future. So maybe just start off and just give us a look at, I suppose, what are we looking at in terms of current trends in the interior design industry, and how does that impact or how does it influence, I suppose, product selection in that space?
Okay, so there's definite interior design trends going around right now, and those really come from global drivers where you'll see the effects of things like your political system, your environmental system, things like COVID. All of those macro drivers have some sort of effect on your global trends. I'll give you three of the main trends that we've picked up that I've also been speaking about a bit in some of our trend presentation recently. And we've titled them Grounded Sanctuary, Playful Personality, and Nostalgic Opulence. Just digging into each one a little bit. So starting with Grounded Sanctuary, which I'd say is one of the bigger global design trends at the moment. It really started during that COVID time, and it was us as humans wanting to make our homes our sanctuary, where we have them as our retreat, our safe space. A lot of that biophilic design where you're having that link to nature, caring about the planet, bringing some of that outside in. A prime example is my wife, who we suddenly have had about a 300% growth in our interior pot plants. But it's that whole longing to link with nature and look after it. That then also has a side link to, you would have seen some of the Japandi and wabi-sabi type style influences that are also popular at the moment. It's that natural material, your neutral warm color palettes, soft worn, authentic textures that really celebrate imperfections and celebrate handmade looking items. As far as tiles go, it's had a huge influence on what we've seen in the tiling space and in the ranges. Just to let you know a bit about how we work, we do a lot of trend forecasting using professional trend forecasters, and then we also link that with some design fairs where we go to in Italy and Spain. What we've seen in particular from this design influence is that our natural stone look tiles have really gained popularity. The trend's growing. So currently we have over 50 ranges at Beaumont Tiles within the stone trend, which makes up about 30% of our range. It never used to be that high 5 years ago. Within those, you've got all the different sub-themes of different stones, like your slates, your limestones, but by far the hero right now is travertine. I'm sure you've seen travertine look everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. That was part of the reason why we made a travertine range of ours called Pompeii, Tile of the Year for 2024. Marble look is still really popular. It's just evolving, where the design and the actual veining is becoming a bit bolder, has a bit more color in. So those were the main things we saw. Moving on to the trend of playful personality, that's almost the counter of Grounded Sanctuary, where you've got these interiors that are there to inspire hope and joy. They're using a lot of the energized color patterns, stronger prints, bolder patterns, and it's really about letting the inner artist or the inner designer or the inner creative shine through. From a tiling perspective, it's had a big push on decorative tiles, which includes things like your tiles with your prints on geometric patterning, your bolder colors. But probably where we've noticed the most is in the terrazzo trend. So terrazzo's had quite a big upswing. It's gaining more and more momentum. And there's something there currently for almost everyone, be it your softer, more subtle colors to your big, bold, colorful terrazzo designs. The last trend I'll speak to is we had called it nostalgic opulence, and that's really about more of a lavish, luxurious trend where it's inspired by some of your eras from the past, such as your Victorian, Renaissance, Baroque eras, just with a slightly modern twist. What you'll see through that trend is the emergence of wallpaper-inspired prints, your deeper, moody colors like your deeper navies, and some of those richer, more opulent colors. From a tile perspective, it's had an influence on the color palettes, but then also your marbles, where we're starting to see more of your darker, richer marbles come through, like your Nero Marquinas, your brown marbles with more of your colors. And also that wallpaper trend has really impacted the tile trend. So when we went to the Chisai Fair in Bologna for the last 2 years, you see those wallpaper-inspired print tiles everywhere. They're really huge. We've got a few of them in our range now, from 3060 up to 60 by 120. But the project that really excited us was being able to work with one of our Australian manufacturers, where we've been able to design 2 prints based off 2 native Australian botanicals, the one being a banksia flower and the other a eucalypt tree. So that was really cool for us.
Hey, that's awesome. Well, mate, I got to tell you that there's some content there. Thank you for sharing. There's a couple of things that I picked up on. One was I never really understood up until this conversation about the impact that COVID would have on the selection of tiles globally and what you would need to look at from a buyer's perspective, because every state had a different set of rules when it came to COVID, so to speak, because they were all doing things differently, and obviously some states were impacted more than others. So I imagine that would have also impacted the style of what people were looking for in terms of how they wanted to dress up their home or upgrade it or enhance it during that period. So did you find that was a bit of a challenge with regards to making selections on things?
Not the trend itself. Obviously, during COVID, you had all these kind of obstacles that you had to try overcome in terms of things like certain factories in certain countries would just shut down during COVID. Shipping was a lot harder than it ever was. But the actual trend itself, we didn't find hard at all. A lot of the top manufacturers were already steering in that natural selection, so it just kind of steamrolled from there. And that retreat space really became a bigger talking point. Everyone was stuck inside to a certain degree. A lot of people working from home. So what we did notice is things like people were starting to put more money and more space into like their bathrooms, for example, where they just wanted their house to be a lot nicer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's pretty much where you spent nearly 24 hours a day, depending upon which state you're in. Like me in Melbourne, it was fantastic. I got to see the inside of 4 walls forever, so it was an experience. I'd never want to repeat it ever again, but nonetheless. And I'm not sure, there might be a little bit of crossover here with the buying team, but I know that when I worked in retail clothing a long time ago, And one of the things that we used to do was working very closely with the buyers in terms of, trends and forecasting for, the next season, right? So in clothing, when I was in that space, we would have, and I worked in the surf clothing space, so we're talking Quicksilver, Billabong, Rip Curl, all the major brands that are global. They would literally have 3 seasons of winter already forecast in front of them. Is that a similar methodology in the tile space, or is it a little bit more JIT, like just in time, and we just sort of forecast 12 months in advance?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work off a lot of the same trend forecasts that the entire industry, including clothing, automobile, that they use, where you'd know from experience that those trends are generally 12 to 24 months in advance. So we use those trends to do our 12 to 24 month product plan. We do that at the beginning of the year for the upcoming year and beyond, which really starts our development to get that stuff here in time. And generally what you're also seeing at a lot of the shows is 12 to 24 months in advance, especially for us here in Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're a little bit far away from Europe. Yeah. So it takes a lot longer. I'm bringing in containers at the moment, and it's taking about 7 months still. So it's not fun at all. But that's the landscape that I think we're all working in at the moment. So, mate, I digress. Talking about sort of sustainability practices, because that's obviously a very hot topic in the industry at the moment. I'm seeing a lot about that being advertised through different marketing platforms and digital media and all that sort of stuff. How are you guys, or how are interior designers and product developers incorporating, sustainability practices into, design and products?
Mark, this is one of the hottest topics at the moment, and I don't think it's going anywhere either. Luckily for us, tiles are one of the most environmentally friendly products, so it makes our lives a lot easier than some of the other people out there. Tiles are made using natural clays and minerals that are found in abundance. They're also free of formaldehydes and your volatile organic compounds. They've got that durability to them and low maintenance. Actually, an environmental study that I looked at a little while ago that measured the entire life cycle of tiles found that they are the one material that has the lowest environmental impact in the field of floor coverings. Wow. So we're lucky to be in this space. Tiles can be recycled. They're also energy efficient due to their thermal mass, which helps moderate the temperatures and minimize your peak heating and cooling. But then we've started to look at different things at Beaumont Tiles, where we've started to introduce some of our ranges where they are now being made thinner. And the reason we're doing that is because it reduces the energy and material that gets used during manufacture and transport. Then we've also introduced some product like Clean Green, which is our eco-friendly cleaner. What we've also found is that sustainability is not only a big conversation here, but it's also worldwide, especially in Italy. Florum, who's our closest Italian supplier and one of the leading suppliers in this space, they're one of the few global companies that are B Corp certified, which means that the environment's not just their focus, but they're also focusing on upskilling people, creating growth within local economies. For example, 100% of their wastewater is recycled during the manufacturing process, and they self-generate 100% of their electricity. So this type of product, materials selected, who you buy from, it's already important, but it's gaining more and more importance as we go along. It's it's going to affect everyone's decision. I mean, just, in Green Star buildings, you've got certain requirements that you have to tick off. For example, the paint has to be a low or no VOC paint. And there's just a whole checkload of ticks that you really have to go by.
Yeah. Look, in echoing a very similar sentiment in the tiling space with installation, it's the same, where maybe sort of 5 to 10 years ago, rubber modified adhesives were all the rage and everyone used them and they were very competitively priced. Today, a lot of the younger trades and generations are looking at, the light products, the silica, low silica or silica-free products out there and protecting themselves, but particularly the light products because they're more of an ergonomic product. They have more of a low VOC content again, that's a sustainability piece for the environment. They're more conscious of what they're choosing rather than, buying the cheapest product that potentially, could be more harmful long term. So to them and to the planet. So very interesting space. It's there's a lot changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mate, you've obviously I imagine you've done a number of product launches in your time at Beaumont Tiles. I want to talk a little bit about that if we can. More specifically, if we can. So what are some of the challenges that you face when you're putting together a program to launch a new product? Maybe just give us talk us a little bit through that and what that looks like.
Mark, you touched on it earlier. Timing. Timing is one of our biggest challenges. I think especially when you're in the space where you're sitting in global forecasts, looking in advance, you're going to design fairs where you're seeing a lot of advanced design. It's deciding when is the right time to launch that in Australia for mass retail market appeal. You launch it too early, you've wasted time and money and effort. It's getting that golden opportunity. So that's something we put quite a bit of time and effort into focusing on. And then also one of the other challenges is because we're a national company represented in every state, we have to deal with all of the nuances between different states. Every single state has a different preference towards color, design, size, and it's bringing in product that services every state, every client, making sure that it's fit for purpose and suitable to the Australian lifestyle through all of those changes. Mm-hmm. It's one of the biggest challenges. And then, just also due to our size, Beaumont's has been voted Australia's #1 tile specialist for the second year in a row now. So for us personally in our product division, it's something we take very seriously. We want to have the best product out there. We want to be leading the pack and really have our front foot forward. So you almost have that pressure on yourself where you need to perform and stay ahead of the pack.
A brief word from our sponsor. Are you looking for a water drainage solution that serves its purpose and adds a touch of elegance to your space? Lux's Grates are here to revolutionise your indoor and outdoor applications. Whether it's a shower, bathroom, balcony, pool, or any other area, Lux's Grates is the ideal choice. It's quick and easy installation that you can bang out in just over an hour. Their standard grates offer a classic and timeless look, while the next generation style adds a modern twist to your space. Lux's grates are made of high quality anodised aluminium, ensuring durability and longevity. Just moving forward again into some more questions, because I've got a few here today, and I'm very conscious of time. I don't want to keep you at work for too long today. There's, I suppose, in terms of materials, that's probably a bit of a hot topic in terms of, and it probably goes hand in hand with sustainability, right? We talk about, obviously porcelain versus ceramic and that sort of thing. In today's market, how important are things like aesthetics functionality. What sort of role do they play in that design space?
It's becoming more important than it's ever been, because people are wanting realistic looking product. And luckily in the tiling industry, there's been these leaps and bounds in technology, especially regarding the equipment that gets used during manufacture. So, I mean, years ago, tiles were a screen print where there might have been one face and everything was screen printed on. Now you've got these high-tech multi-head machines that is basically a bigger version of an office printer, where it can actually print a realistic picture onto a tile.
Wow.
We get our factory over in Newcastle in Australia to sometimes print tiles for presentations or gifts or that kind of thing, where we'll send them an actual picture and they print a picture onto a tile. So what we've seen from some of these design labs over in Italy is they will get a large piece of, say, real marble slab. They'll take these high-resolution images on that, and then that is able to get cut up and printed in high-definition detail onto the actual product. What the end result is it just gives you something that looks more realistic, where you're not having to use natural stone quarried out of Italy or a tree cut down out of a certain forest. You're able to get that emulation printed onto the tile. Sorry, there's a truck driving past.
It's all right, mate. I heard that loud and clear. These things happen. It's real life.
So the other good thing with some of the advancements in technology is better product for the people out there. So one of the things that we've noticed over the last few years is people are really changing textured tiles, where they're having a smoother grain on the tile to still give it that slip resistance, but it feels more like a natural matte product. And what that does is gives you a product at the end of the day that you're able to use, say, in a bathroom on a floor, that gives you that slip resistance. It's still easy to clean. It's not that old traditional style gritty tile. And that's becoming very big in things like the NDIS circles in Australia. There's also new types of glazes out there besides the anti-slip glazes, where you're getting a reactive glaze that's applied before the tiles actually go into the kiln, and that really accentuates and highlights part of the design. So it's not just a flat, boring tile anymore. You're getting all these cool features and different quirks on it. Compared to a few years ago, the tile industry has just taken huge steps. It's really exciting space to watch.
It is. I hear what you're saying and I see what you're saying. It's very interesting. I was doing some social media content a couple of days ago for a company that I do some work for, and I used an image, and looking back on it now, it probably wasn't the best image to use because I couldn't find what I wanted, but it sparked a bit of curiosity in my mind. See, I grew up in the tiling industry. I've been in the game since early 2003. So I grew up with two tiles, one from the Australian manufacturer that you mentioned. We had probably 40% of our tile ranges in store were from them. And the other part was getting in polished porcelain, 600 by 600s from Italy, Spain and China. So they were the three hot countries of manufacture at the time. And it's amazing how much things have changed, because during my tenure selling tiles, polished porcelain was massive. Like, it was such a hot product in the early 2000s, probably right up until, I don't know, maybe 2013, 2014. If I'm reading the room correctly, it could be maybe a little bit later, but certainly now you go into a showroom, I think you'd be very hard pressed to find a polished porcelain anywhere, because they just don't stack up when it comes to the P ratings and everything else. So it's a different game.
So you'll find that even the polished porcelains are getting harder and harder to find. People are now starting to use a polished glaze instead. But we've seen generally matte finish has really overtaken polished tiles over the last few years. And then when people are wanting something with a bit more of that gloss or a shine to it, they're rather going for a silk finish than an actual proper polished finish.
Yeah, nice. Very awesome. Well, mate, thanks for sharing so much so far. I really appreciate it. I have some more questions to ask, though. I want to talk a little bit, and I know there's a bit of crossover here, so I do apologise if we're touching on topics multiple times, but I think that's really cool. But design philosophy is obviously a very big piece of what goes on at, and I suppose it gets transcends from that design piece to that sale piece when, someone at the coalface, whether they be in a retail store or presenting to a builder or presenting to an architect or designer, why they've done what they've done. But is there like a design philosophy that Beaumont Tiles uses or embodies when it's influencing, the products that they import and bring into the country?
Absolutely. And that's all based around our client and our market, is finding out when we're looking at getting something, we got to look at things like, who would this appeal to? Is it the right colors? Is it the right sizes? Is it the right finishes? So you almost looking at that end goal of the clientele, understanding who your clientele are and what they need, and making sure you bring something in that suits that application. So function comes first, and it's really got to start with the function. And there's some beautiful tiles that I've seen at the Italian fairs, but they just wouldn't be suitable to the Australian market. Big bright blue marbles aren't really going to sell here. So it's starting with understanding your client's requirements, and then work backwards from there.
Yeah. And I imagine that Beaumont's has got some pretty big clientele. Do they engage and get them involved in any of the shows or fairs overseas? I know Chisai's coming up in September again this year. There's a number of fairs obviously in China as well. So is there some collaborations there that happen from time to time?
There's a collaboration that happens straight after the fairs. So generally at the beginning of a new fair, of a new year, we'll go around to all the different states around Australia, meet with many of our larger residential clients. We'll do also retail shop visits, have a chat to the store owners, and just so we tell them basically what we're seeing, where we see the trends going, the directions going. We explain what new product is coming through the pipeline that then relates to those different trends. And then the last part is all about listening. So no one understands their clients, especially in your regional areas, as well as the staff members do in those little shops. And no one understands their clients quite like a builder down in Seaford in Victoria does. So a lot of it is presenting, showing what you're saying, but then also listening for that feedback and taking that on board and using that to guide your product development.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. It's good. As Stephen Covey once said it very well, seek first to understand before being understood. It's always good to get the market feedback and trying to adjust where possible. Certainly, it's a lot more difficult when you're manufacturing tiles, of course. It's not like baking a cake. That's a rather quick process, where the other one is not as quick. So, no, I completely understand. Mate, as we sort of get towards the end of the program, end of the episode today, I should say, I'm curious to know what you're seeing in terms of what the sort of 5 to 10 year outlook might look like in tiling, in design, and also in that sort of the development over that time. What are you seeing?
Mark, it's a tricky one when you're looking at 10 years. As you know, in tiles, things really change quite slowly. I'm sure back when you were in the tile industry, white marble was there. White marble's still here now. So it's really those slight changes and nuances. I think that we'll continue to see tiles going thinner, stronger, and that certainly will be great from an environmental point of view. We've had a lot of people and manufacturers looking into things like antibacterial, antimicrobial. Certainly sustainability is going to be driving us in the next 10 years. But then from an overall Beaumont's point of view, if you look at things like our bathroom ware, our tapware, I think it's your smart home is going to be your next big thing in the next 10 years. We're already seeing it now. You're getting LED controlled mirrors where you operate the light and stuff via Bluetooth. BMS used to be really big purely in the commercial circles and office blocks. That's starting to creep its way into our homes, and will do so as it becomes more affordable. I don't know if you have a Google Nest or a Alexa in your own home, but
I've got Google.
Yeah. I think that kind of thing is going to start to take over more and more. And it wouldn't surprise me in 10 years' time if you walked into your bathroom and you just, your tap was voice activated, your shower's voice activated, you set the temperature via voice. We know that smart toilets are now a thing. You might have a voice activated smart toilet. It'll be interesting.
As long as it doesn't talk back, it's the only thing you don't need.
You don't want your toilet throwing you insults.
No, exactly. Oh God, that could go in all different directions. I'm going to get off that topic straight away. No, that's great. Look, it's certainly interesting. I remember seeing the statistics recently, and obviously, Australia, all during COVID, was seeing through the statistics of imports into the country, tiles per square metre were just growing every year. And I think for the first time, probably in the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen a decline in the amount of tile imports coming into the country. It will be very interesting to see where that trend takes us in the next 12 to 24 months, whether or not we see a U-turn or whether we start to see maybe more local manufacturing and or different types of tiles or used or different products used in that building and construction space. So it's obviously way too early to tell because we're going through a whole bunch of different stuff in Australia. Lack of trades, lack of builders, mass insolvencies across all industries. We've got high immigration. We don't have enough homes. It's a perfect storm. So, but if you turn the homes on, there's a lot of work out there. There's a phenomenal amount of buildings that need to be done or houses that need to be built and that need tiles. We're not on light speed like we were during COVID at the moment. So hopefully that changes soon and we turn that flame back on.
Well, unfortunately for us, one of the biggest competitors to your home renovation market has been travel, where people will spend their extra money on travel. Luckily, during COVID, no one could travel, so everyone kind of spent their money on renovations, and we saw that big upswing during COVID. So yes, now that people are traveling, combine that with your interest rate hikes and your rate of inflation and the things that the government are putting in place to slow things down. Yeah, it's been an interesting year and certainly wait to see where this year takes us.
That's it. Absolutely. Completely agree, Ryan. So a couple of final questions before we wrap up. What from your experience in the industry, and this is more around advice for new designers, what sort of advice would you give to emerging designers or, that sort of want to make a name for themselves or in that product development space? What would you share with them that would help them, when they're looking at getting into this sort of realm of product?
I guess I'll speak to possibly my own learnings in this department when you come out of uni and you've got all these bright, bold ideas and want to take the world by storm. And I think it links back to what we touched on earlier, is putting your clients first. So, as designers, we sometimes like to be super creative and quite pushy with our ideas and concepts. But my advice would be really for any new designer is to keep your ego in check. Our goal as designers is to serve our clients and ensure that they get the right result that is suitable for them, that they after, they're the one with the dream that is going to be spending the money. And there have been times in my past where I've had to design and put a concept out there that I personally thought was ugly, but it's exactly what I knew the client wanted, and they were happy as Larry afterwards. So don't get too caught up in your own styles, and don't let that certainly stop you from giving the client what they are looking for. Yeah,
nice. Awesome bit of advice, mate. Look, it's always hard when you're learning something new. You just want to project, and it's very difficult to go, but I've got all these really great ideas and I want to share them with the world. And you're like, just slow down. It's okay. You're only 21. It's all right. We'll get there. It's just don't forget about that idea. Write it down somewhere. Put it in your phone. Whatever. You'll always be able to pull it out. It's like a filing cabinet. There's plenty of room. Mate, just touching on you personally and professionally, Ryan. What's you got any big plans for 2024? What's happening in your world?
Luckily, Mark, this year we're back to travel, so we are able to go to some of those design fairs. Really looking forward to the Chissà fair in Italy. Love Italy, love the food, the culture, the people, the fairs there. Personally, this year I sat down at the beginning of 2024, and what was quite important for me was just getting my priorities right, becoming a better person, and focusing really on having a healthy body, mind, and spirit. Those are three areas that I'm focusing on this year, and just trying to grow and learn more. We've got a great HR team here at Beaumont Tiles that gives us great training and education content if you want to take it. You're never too old to stop learning.
Never, mate, never. It's been a roller coaster ride for me since the beginning of the year, but thank you for sharing that. I really echo the sentiments of that healthy mind, body and spirit. It's, I think particularly as you get a little bit seasoned in living on this planet, you certainly get to a point you go, you know what, I really need to take stock of where I've been, what I've done, and how can I do things a bit differently, because growth is important. So that's I appreciate you sharing, and best of luck with that. That sounds really cool.
Thanks.
And hopefully, I cross my fingers. I've already said it on a couple of episodes. I'm really trying to get to Chissà this year. I was in Surfaces last year. I've been to World of Concrete. These are all obviously very tool and flooring related places, but I'd love to get to Chissà this year and check it out. Everyone says it's phenomenal, and you get to see a lot of cool stuff. So, and of course I love Italy and pasta and pizza. So I just fit it all in.
Don't forget the gelato.
Mate, look, you know what? I think, I agree. I think gelato over there is okay, but we've got some stellar places in Melbourne that are doing some ripper gelato. There's one even here in James Street in Fortitude Valley, Messina. It's like the lineup will be out the door for like a kilometre every day. And I'm just like, how can people eat that much gelato? And they do the like the 1 litre tubs and that. And literally, I reckon you'd be getting a second and third mortgage just about to buy one. So, but anyway, no, I digress. Mate, look, I really appreciate your time today, Ryan. It's been great having you on the show, and thanks for sharing what you have, and really looking forward to, watching your journey and the Beaumont's journey. I know they're now part of the bigger, wider group with Bunnings, and I know that obviously brings a whole bunch of new perspective on what you can do, and obviously, hopefully, you've got a bigger budget, but that's really cool. And the company's certainly changing and evolving. So, again, thank you for coming on. And as we say at every show, mate, until next time, stay connected, and hopefully we cross paths again in person. Would be great as well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Cool.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.